So what is blood cancer? How do we fix it? And why would somebody put the two scariest words known to man in the English language together? Blood cancer. Blood cancer is cancer of the blood. Duh. So how do we get it? There's a number of different ways. There's what they call risk factors. You can get it either through germline, which is inherited, it's genetic basically, or somatic, which is after birth. And that gets into epigenetics. We acquire things after birth through nature, through chemical exposure, through pesticides, which are the reasons for the risk factors for blood cancer. So for example, one chemical that you need to look out for is called benzene. You've probably heard of it. It's on the label of most things. If you check the labels, by the way, always check the label. Art supplies, paint, hair dye. If you dye your hair, check the label. You might be exposing yourself to, a risk factor for blood cancer. Wouldn't that be messed up? If you found out it all came down to just, dyeing your hair with benzene soaking into your blood 25 times or whatever it is. Cigarette smoke, always bad. Cleaning products. So check your labels. You can get it through HIV, for instance. You're more susceptible to blood cancer with HIV. EBV, which is what I have, it's called Epstein-Barr virus. If you've had the kissing disease, mononucleosis, that is a risk factor for blood cancers, for myeloma, for leukemia, lymphomas. So what are the different types? Well, there's three main categories. There is leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma. So leukemia is basically abnormal white blood cells, and they start mucking up the bone marrow and the blood, and they flow through the blood. I think leukemia, the average age is over 55 for getting it, and it is under 15. It's actually the most common cancer in kids, which is pretty scary. But on a really positive note, technology being what it is and coming as far, and cancer treatment coming as far as it has, which I'll get into new technology. It's amazing. I think it's around 95% of all kids that get ALL or AML, can't remember, acute myeloid leukemia, the most popular cancer in kids, 95% are cured. Total remission, that means that we basically have a cure for that type of leukemia for kids, which is mind-blowing, amazing. Lymphoma is basically when it's still abnormal white blood cells, but it's when it's mucking up the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system, think of it like a separate circulatory system. You've heard of lymph nodes. You get like strep throat, you get swollen lymph nodes, you get in the neck, you have lymph nodes in the armpit, groin, your tonsils are a main immune defense against infections. That's the lymphatic system. So it basically removes waste from the body and transports white blood cells. Myeloma. That's what I was misdiagnosed with, which is MDS, and that's what I'm on watch for. Myelo, I think, is Latin for bone marrow or marrow, so it gives you an idea what kind of cancer it is. It's cancer of the bone marrow, which is a blood cancer. Myeloma also, it's white blood cells that kind of muck up the marrow. It's either not functioning right, immature cells that never become mature, and it's kind of messing up the works. So your bone, your factory is getting all messed up. It's not producing healthy, mature cells. Most common warning signs are people just feel fatigued. That's one major symptom. They feel tired, more fatigued than usual. They can get night sweats. They describe flu-like symptoms sometimes. But generally speaking, it's less painful than other cancers because there's not tumors. There is in myeloma and lymphoma. There can be, but versus other cancers, whereas you have tumors that attach to organs and start spreading and causing a lot of pain. Blood cancer doesn't, so that's one positive. One negative is sometimes there are no warning signs. A lot of times I don't think people are in tune with their body, or they neglect it. I suspect that people have had warning signs for a long time and they just haven't paid enough attention. They've been more tired than usual. Like for me, I was sleeping at one point like 10 hours. That was pretty normal, and I was still feeling a little bit tired. So I guess just pay attention. Tests. Get a CBC, complete blood count. It's the easiest, fastest, best way to just check all your markers. I mean, yes, there's a lot of stuff you need to check apart from that, but most times that will be an indication if they need to go deeper. Confirmation of diagnosis is usually a bone marrow biopsy, which is what I got. I've had 3, actually. Not too much fun. Bone marrow biopsy, take a sliver of bone marrow and they do a biopsy on it. They analyze it. And that's basically, they're going to the root of you. They're going to that factory and they're pulling out like a blueprint and they're saying, oh, okay, he has this marker and this marker and this marker, precondition for this, a marker for that. Treatments. This is the fun part. This is the good part. Treatments, because technology has come a long way. Conventional treatments, everybody knows them. Chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. That's basically how they've dealt with it since the beginning of time, starting with surgery and moving to the other ones. Checkpoint inhibitor. It's a drug that basically is an antibody, and it's released in the system to attack the cancer cells, which is pretty amazing. Because cancer cells disguise themselves, as you guys know, like you can think of it like a foreign invader that dresses like our soldiers, that blends in. So a lot of times the problem with cancer cells is like the regular cells don't recognize them. You know, they go in, they don't recognize them, so they leave them alone and they run amok. But what these immunotherapies do is they basically take the mask off so that our fighter cells can recognize these cells. We have T cells that are fighter cells. We have NK cells, natural killer cells, which is a great name. Makes me think of Natural Born Killers, the movie. Good movie. Another immunotherapy is called CAR T cell therapy, which is chimeric antigen receptor therapy. It's basically where they take out your T cells, make millions of copies of the healthy T cell, and fuse it back into your body so it overpopulates and attacks the cancer cells. Amazing. Bioengineering. Mind-blowing. You know, the NK cells, the natural killer cells. So they actually recognize the enemy and can kill it, the cancer. But they have a short lifespan. Not too many of them. It's like 2 days. The T cells actually have a memory for past infections, so they remember these diseases. They can't necessarily unmask the new cancer, but they have a memory, which is great, and a longer lifespan. So science now has figured out they're figuring out how to combine the two. So you got these natural killer cells that recognize the enemy, can kill them, can actually live longer to kill them. Amazing! There's alternative cancer centers, and they basically focus on both. They do conventional chemo, radiation surgeries, or send off for surgeries, and they do these vitamin C infusions, mineral infusions. They do cold pressed fresh juices. God, what else do? They do acupuncture, all kinds of different therapy, different modules. They focus on the whole body and feeding it nutrients at the same time. And that to me is the best way to go. So if you can get one of these new technology therapies, you can get CAR T or you can get checkpoint inhibitors. They're not too common yet. I think the FDA has not approved, I know it's not approved CAR T or checkpoint yet. There are places that do it, but it's big bucks. I think China, last I heard, China was doing CAR T cell therapy for 90 grand a session. So it's crazy until it gets approved, but it's coming. There's all kinds of stuff coming, and the innovations have happened in the last 5 years. So there's all these possibilities floating around out there. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to make this video too, because you know, you hear the word blood cancer and everybody freaks out. I freaked out. It's like blood and cancer together. What? But as far as like cancers go, blood cancers in the past 5 years has made greater leaps and bounds than pretty much any other cancer. So I can't stress enough, get tested. Even if you don't, you know, we're kind of a society where if it's not broke, don't fix it sort of thing. But I completely disagree with that. I think, you know, the body, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on in the body at the cellular level that we don't know about until sometimes it's too late. And other times we'll get warning signs, but sometimes we won't. So it's not hard to go in and get tested. It's like we do it for our cars, but we don't do it for our bodies. That doesn't make sense. So like, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section. I'll be here once a week, every Friday. I'll have it up before 5 p.m. I'm going to start doing it earlier because I feel like it gets lost in the shuffle. And I want you guys to stay healthy, stay well. Remember that blood cancers, there's new innovations in technology here right now that's being in clinical studies and stuff that has been around for a while. So there is a cure. You know, no matter what you read online, you read, look up myeloma, it's, oh, there's no known cure except for a bone marrow transplant. Yeah, well, that's a cure. Bone marrow transplant can be a cure. And just the innovation that is happening right now. Again, don't jump to treatment. Understand your options, but just know that these new bioengineering technologies, bone marrow transplants, the fact that in the past 3 to 5 years, they basically cured childhood leukemia. Come on. Anyway, guys, take care. You are the cure. See you soon.